What do you do when your map of the future hasn't updated? A while ago, when we were allowed to do such things, I went out of my immediate area to see a friend for lunch. I had the postcode to the pub, so popped it in the sat-nav and began what I thought would be a stress-free 40-minute journey, guided by my trusty TomTom navigation system. The trouble was, since my sat-nav last downloaded, someone had had the temerity to close a road. Worse, they'd decided to build another one. I had a map of the world that simply didn't exist anymore. All of this became painfully obvious when the background on my screen lost all the colours and contours that usually highlighted the roads and went white. I may have gone a little white myself as I realised that I was going to be late for my appointment and needed to work out how to get there. Happily, I was brought up in an age when we weren't totally reliant on technical solutions, and I had a map in the car. And whilst it too was out of date, it at least enabled me to work out a circuitous route to get to the venue. My current electronic map was useless. An old map gave me some clues, and in the end I was able to find my way because I knew how to navigate. Heading into the second quarter of 2021, many of us may find ourselves in a similar situation. The government is advertising a provisional roadmap out of the current restrictions. But how can a map be provisional? You can only map territory if you've already travelled on it. At best, the map takes you to certain junctions at which you need to make choices as to which unknown path you'll take next. If you're exploring territory no one has travelled, you don't want a map. You definitely need some navigation aids, and if you want to reduce the risk of getting lost even further, you could do with some travelling companions. So how does that work if the territory you are exploring is the future of your life, your career, or your business? Well, here are 3 approaches that you can use working with a coach. First, have a thorough review of how you got to where you are. For many people and businesses, the pandemic has revealed issues that were previously under the surface or weren't being given sufficient attention. I've spoken to a number of people who've remarked that the last year has forced them to face up to decisions that they'd previously been putting off. In other words, they'd already been sensing some dissatisfaction with their current situation or dislocation from their organisation. A lot of my work involved helping people understand where this is coming from and what it might be pointing them to. You may now be able to see clearly that the road you were on really is heading for a dead end. So if you're nervous or just unclear about where to go next, engage the services of an expert navigator. There's likely to be a new road you haven't discovered yet. There may be a road waiting for you to build. Second, explore some possible directions and get ready for what you're likely to find down each one of them. Whilst we can't see all the details of the way ahead, we certainly know the kinds of things we're likely to find there. Since the world is round rather than flat, we know there's no chance of falling off the edge. Sometimes, when locked into the present moment, it can be difficult to explore alternative futures without some help, some prompting to consider possibilities. Our expectations become constrained by our experiences. Coaching gives you the freedom and the tools to break free from these constraints. There's usually a stopping point for your thinking, which is created by assumptions you make about what is and isn't possible. Well, let's find the basis of these assumptions and test them. Where the assumptions you are making are sound, they provide some essential certainty on which to build. If they are unsound, they can be the equivalent of directing you to take a stroll into quicksand. Coaching will help you determine the guiding principles for the next set of decisions you need to make. How you're going into the new territory ahead, what priorities are, the trade-offs you'll consider, and the degree of risk you're willing to accept. And thirdly, find some travelling companions. If you're out in the country and meet other people along the way, the most natural thing to do is to stop and to share notes together. Apart from the fact it can be very reassuring to discover people who are as mildly lost as you are, there is the shared joy of providing some topographical information with a fellow traveller that they've been unaware of or just missed, and in return receiving some insight or wisdom. Whilst our individual experiences of the last year have been just that, individual, they've all been framed by the common experience of an unprecedented global pandemic. But the shared journey doesn't end with the conclusion of the vaccination programme. We'll be carrying on in this journey into a new and emerging world for a while yet. If you're looking for fellow travellers, you can join the many events being hosted by Coaching York in the week beginning May 17th. This celebrates International Coaching Week 2021. The content of the events will be highly valuable in their own right, and more than that, you'll have the chance to meet people from elsewhere in your own sector, from different sectors, or people who are, at an individual level, asking the same questions about the future that you're asking. The fact that you can't explore the future with complete certainty doesn't mean you can't approach it with confidence. And you don't have to wait for your sat-nav to update before continuing your journey. Get the right people around you and you can start writing a map of your own. Here are the details of the events I mentioned, and as ever, thanks for listening.